open up the concept a little bit. I think that it has at least 3 different meanings, and one is to see it as an instrument for foreign policy, and that is maybe the original concept which has been used in the US in particular, and partially it was connected already after the Second World War to the role of scientists who wanted to prevent Fourth World War and the use of nuclear weapons. Albert Einstein, for instance, was active in that kind of discussions, and scientists developed cooperation and recommendations and initiatives for peace around that kind of new technology. But within the US governance, the concept was very much used in order to build working relations with the Soviet Union, then even more so with China during Nixon's era, and also the concept has been used for the relations between US and Cuba, for instance. So it is referring to interaction between states which otherwise, where the official relations have been somewhat in trouble. So from that perspective, there is an interesting paper produced by the US National Research Council, which is specifically arguing that science, technology, and health have an important role in foreign policy. And actually, based on that paper, the US government established a post of science advisor. And I think that it's very interesting that the science advisor is in State Department. So it is part of the foreign policy. But then another content for science diplomacy is to enhance enhance the work of scientists and researchers, particularly in developing countries, and to support their work. For instance, this African Scientific Institute, ASI, was established already in 1967, and it was particularly established in order to provide similar kind of or to provide facilities and tools for African scholars equal to those of the scholars in the north. And then thirdly, and maybe most importantly nowadays, is this emphasis on finding scientific solutions to global challenges like climate change, health problems, energy, etc. And last year, for instance, International Network for Government Science Advisors was established. These kind of science advisors exist maybe in about 20 countries in the world, not 20 states in the world, but they already have an effective network. And in many other countries there are advocates who are suggesting that this kind of posts should be established. So I'm just taking as an example of this emphasis on science diplomacy as tool in foreign policy, the American Association for the Advancement of Science Center for Science Diplomacy. That was established in 2008. And they are specifically saying that the purpose is to build bridges between countries and to promote scientific cooperation as an essential element of foreign policy. It should encourage cooperation when official relationships are limited, and that center, for instance, offers science diplomacy fellows within the State Department. They are representing different fields, and they are publishing also a quarterly Science and Diplomacy. Something that this is also telling, of course, is that scientific knowledge as such is becoming more and more important in international politics. It's difficult maybe to think about international relations today without scientific knowledge. You have to know about climate, you have to know about global economy, you have to know about migration flows, etc. So science is important part of foreign policy. But that, because my background is in international relations, I just wanted to reflect a little bit about that approach. I think that it is also reflecting a kind of classical conceptualization of international relations, where you have science and scientific knowledge under the national authorities, who are then the ones which are active in international relations. So the national interest is important there. Foreign policy is important, and the government is really the actor that is employing these science advisors, that is providing, that is utilizing these science, these fellows within its agencies, and using science for the I would say for the national interest of the state. But as I said, there are also other kind of ideologies behind science diplomacy, and of course these are overlapping. So I'm simplifying, but of course these ideologies are overlapping, and as I said, one strong idea has been to support and enhance the work of scientists across the world. And an important initiative was the World Academy of Sciences. Initially, it was called Third World Academy of Sciences, established by Nobel laureate Abdus Salam, who was a Pakistani scholar already in 1983. This World Academy has regional offices in Latin America, in Africa, in China, and in India. And its purpose, precisely, its specific or explicit purpose is to support excellence in scientific work in developing world, and to support South-South and South-North cooperation. And then third aim is to solve major problems facing developing countries related to poverty, health, etc. There are many other initiatives which could have been mentioned, but I just picked, for instance, the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World, which is representing similar kind of goals, and Inter-Academy Medical Panel. And for all these associations, what is important is that there are mostly or the activities are very much based on the role of individuals. So the members in the national academies, or the membership in the national academies, is often limited. There are maybe only some tens of members in these groups, and these scientists are then are making these networks and are using also the personal contacts with decision makers at their governments and in international organizations as well, and also within the fields of expertise or the disciplinary fields. So I would say that from the point of view of international relations and theorizing, these approaches were very much initiated in order to solve the problem of underdevelopment and unequal change. We have these models of dependency theory, which is basically arguing that strong industrialized or economically strong industrialized countries are the ones which are dominating not only economy but also the production of scientific knowledge, and then countries and states in the south are more or less dependent on this knowledge. So the initiative for the World Association of Scientific Academies was explicitly to turn that kind of or to cut that kind of dependency, to make the environments where scientists are working more equal. And the world system analysis is a bit more complicated structure of the dependency theory, where the theorist Immanuel Wallerstein is the one who was theorizing it initially, where there was also a concept for semi-periphery, where there are states which are investing in industrialization, for instance, also in scientific knowledge, but which are still more or less dependent on the dominant role of the center. But this is also a kind of structure, and that's my point with this simple picture. This is also a kind of structure where the state is the most important actor, and the states are more or less mediating the science policies and the relations between the societies with other states and other societies. So the third kind of approach for science diplomacy, which I think is more emerging, is the idea of truly truly effective networks of scientists, and this inter-academy panel represents that kind of network. It's a global network of science academies established in 1993. It involves altogether at the moment 107 member academies, which do exist in most countries, but there are parts of Africa and the Middle East mainly where these kind of national academies do not exist. Here again, for this network, the main purpose is to work together and to contribute to global policy debates. The Inter-Academy panel is providing recommendations, reports, policy advice, as well for the international organizations as for national governments. And it has structured its work so that there are regional networks, European academies, Science Advisory Council, network of African science academies, Association of Academies and Societies of Sciences in Asia, and Inter-American Network of Academies of Sciences. I just picked this network of African science academies and looked at its members. I think that this list might include all the African states which do have National Academy of Sciences. And in addition, there is African Academy of Sciences. So, for instance, Sudan has an Academy of Sciences. For some of you are maybe familiar with that body, and maybe you know more about it. But these academies do also work as a network, NASAC, for this international network. And the international network is actually based in Italy, where also the World TWAD is located. African Academy of Sciences, you probably also know, was established already in '85. It is a continent-wide, and one of its aims is to lead development in Africa. So development is high on its agenda. So what I just want to emphasize with this kind of networking is that the science is really crossing borders, and I think that particularly this new emphasis for science diplomacy represents a kind of cooperation which is at least challenging the old international relations models and the old nation-state system. And that is why I think that Diaspora is a critical group and critical actor in this transition. And if we want to look more in detail, those individuals who are active in these national academies and in these international networks, most of them are persons who, at least for part of their life, have been living in other countries. So these are very international, or I would say that many of them actually more or less are representatives of Diaspora. And that's why I think that the issue is interesting, and it could be nice to discuss also here and hear your opinions, but it has not been studied very much, that what is really the political impact of these new scientific networks, and what is the role of Diaspora in them. So, for instance, in the case of Africa, what is then interesting is the level of the African Union, which, as is already famous, which has declared Diaspora as the 6th region of Africa, established African Remittance Institute. African Union is an example of an international organization that is developing new policy models and that is looking for new modes to engage Diaspora in policy making. Then another example is European Commission, EU, UN have joint migration and development initiative, which is precisely looking at the role of Diaspora. And in order to conceptualize all of this, what is useful, I think, is the idea of multi-level governance. And now I show a picture of that. It's again simplified, but the simple idea in multi-level governance, which as a concept has been developed by Carrie Marks and Lisbeth Huge, for instance. As a concept, it was developed for the analysis of European Union in particular, and the economic policies within the EU. But what is important in this model is that there are direct links between the different levels. So Diaspora can cooperate with the global level actors like United Nations, for instance. And those scientific networks and associations are precisely an example of that. So the connections can completely bypass the national level. They can be very active at the regional level, like African Union, for instance. So I'm just arguing that these relations are and would be very interesting to study more in detail. And there are examples like, I think that there might be tens of examples, but one example was African Diaspora Technical Committee of Experts in 2005, when the scientists met within the AU initiative and actually contributed to the civil society declaration in the Global African Diaspora Summit in 2012. So this is an example of policy action where the diaspora was contributing, action where diaspora contributed to the regional level policy making. So this is my last slide, and actually I'm more asking questions than giving answers. I think that an important question is that how the international community is relating to diaspora, because in some occasions in particular, if the home country is an area where there are conflicts, for instance, diaspora's role can be highly politicized, and it relates to integration, national security issues, which how do I say, old-fashioned foreign policy issues. It is also very cross-sectoral. It links together development cooperation, labor policies, different kind of areas, and that's also a challenge for civil servants, or how would I say, governance in modern states and also at the international level. So I would end these reflections by just emphasizing that there is need for research and analysis and new understanding of the role of science and diaspora in science within the global governance. Thank you.